Good afternoon and welcome to Carnation Crafts TV. We are coming to you from the brand new Carnation Crafts TV studios. Really exciting. We launched yesterday. We had a crazy day yesterday from the studios. It was amazing. Huge thank you to you guys. As a consequence to that, in just 24 hours, we sold out 50% of the main line. So we only have half the stock left. And of that beautiful wreath die, the banded wreath that you see there, we already have 55% gone. So there's less of that, just to let you all know and keep you posted. So really nice to be with you this afternoon. As you might notice, I'm not your normal presenter, and I doubt they'll ever let me back to do it, but unfortunately, Miss Wheeler is poorly, so I'm just standing in today. So unfortunately, you have me as presenter and demonstrator. We'll get through it and it will be fine, but actually it's going to give us some chance to play with those different dies and the different things we can do. But this is the collection that you can see in front of me here, and this collection is gorgeous. So it was brought specifically for this launch that we've got for the new studio, and it's called Spring Forward. It's all about Easter, but it's got loads of different elements too, which we can bring into all different card makes that we are making. So it's really pretty, really beautiful, and there's loads of different elements that you can use to it. I will say that all of these can be bought individually, or you can buy the full set. There are now options to pay on the Carnation Crafts website, which is www.carnationcrafts.co.uk. You can choose ClearPay or you can choose PayPal Pay in 3. It just means we can split up those payments, so we're not sort of stuck with paying that full amount. Some of us just don't have it, do we, to just pull forward. So you can actually do that in installments, which is lovely to know. Just a quick note on postage to say that in the UK, if you spend in over £50, which obviously if you bought this collection you would be, your postage is totally free, which is fantastic. If you're spending under £50, your postage will be £2.95, which is awesomely low. We like that a lot. Those of you who are buying from international, so if you're in the US or anything like that, that changes. So the difference being there is if you're buying the main collection, your postage, your shipping and handling will be $4.95. That's in UK pounds. So for you guys in America, that's about $6.50, somewhere around there. However, if you also want to buy a set of the perfect papers, and a lot of you do, they just go hand in hand with all of the vignettes. So if you do, the website is set up to allow you to put the full collection and your perfect papers in your basket and check out for a total cost of $14.95 in pounds. That's about $20, near enough. If you decide that you don't want the perfect papers, but actually you'd like some pro print, you could actually swap those out. Now you can only have that shipping and handling on one pack of papers for $14.95. So choose what you'd like. Do you want a pro paper? Would you like some smooth card? Or would you like your perfect papers? If you decide you want some pro print, in the comments, when you go to checkout, there's a chance for you to put a comment in there. Make sure you put a comment in stating which paper you want, and they'll make sure the right one gets sent to you, which is always lovely to know. So what is this all about, this collection? What does it look like? What are you getting for your money? See all the dies in front of me here. We've got the beautiful spring strings. We've got the spring, look at this, that is a mighty big collection. It's so pretty. Loads of different floral elements there. That's what Carnation are famous for. We've got your beautiful Easter celebration. That's your sentiment. It's a large sentiment. We'll have a look at all of these in detail. That gorgeous cross. You've got the beautiful Filled with Joy, which is your watering can. And again, all of these, you'll see them in more details. Then we've got your gorgeous characters. You've got the Easter bunny, the little hatchling there, and you have also got your woodland pieces, your little stumps of wood, which is so cute. But let's have a look at what they look like in real terms. So for instance, when we're looking at Filled with Joy, which is the watering can, you'll see how big this is. So if I hold up this sample for you, look at that. That is such an awesome piece. And it's big, you know, that is not a small die. They're not designed to be kind of sitting in the background there. They're lovely big pieces for you to work with. Really easy to shape and mold, and we'll go through that as we go through the demos, and you'll see how it all comes together. But then we can change that round. So instead of just using that as part of a card, because of the way Carnation bring you the dies, which is that they also give you the mats and layers as well, we can actually change that through and we can bring that in as a card shape on its own. Now just to turn that around so you can see, each die has its mats. Can you see that? Have I got that in the right hand? Oh, there we go. You can see that, thank you. We have got a producer in the room as well who's just trying to cope with me at the minute. You've got this beautiful shape here, and that is one of your mats and layers, and we cut it twice. We score along that score line here and put some tape there, and that gives you a really gorgeous card base. You can make all sorts in that sort of way, so we've got loads of room to play. But it's not just that, we can make these gorgeous little decor pieces. So this would be a gift for somebody. This has got some chocolates inside. Although I have to say Mr. Dave Bradford did eat most of them yesterday, but there are still some. So we can go from there. Now I want to just show you this daffodil because I want to show you how this looks in all its glory. If you look at the detail there and how that is all built up in its layers, isn't that so pretty? So we can really go to town on these. There's loads of different ways that we've got that we can utilize these different card samples and the different ways of playing. You've got the gorgeous freesias here, really, really pretty. And then, because Carnation do all the beautiful backing papers, which are entirely free, look at how we can change those colours up into something just so glorious. Now, Carnation also have what are called mirrored vignettes. That means we can have a bunny face in that way, and we can have a bunny face in this way, and you're only paying for one die. So it's a really beautiful collection, loads of ways to manipulate it, loads of ways to play, and we can really take up our card making to the next level. It's just really, really beautiful. What we're going to do is just very quickly show you that collection kind of in more of a full process so you can see it going through. We're back with you any minute and I'll start demoing for you. Just as a side note, if you want to kind of make a comment, anything like that, just pop it onto the Facebook page or onto YouTube, and I'll try and have a look on my phone as we're going through, and we'll try and bring you into the show as well, because it's always lovely to have your company, and we'll see you in a minute.
Carnation Craft's new TV launch features the elegant new collection Spring Forward. This classical Easter collection is filled with dies such as Easter Celebration, Filled with Joy, Easter Bunny, Spring Strings, Little Hatchling and Placed in Nature. And you can take this new die set home for an incredible £109.99. This collection is perfect for your cards, scrapbook pages, home decor and many other techniques. Carnation Crafts even have an open angel policy which allows you to make and sell all of your completed projects. Don't forget to download the free vignettes from our website, www.carnationcrafts.co.uk. Happy crafting with our new collection, Spring Forward.
Hello, I'm back. So this is where we come demonstrate. I'm a bit more comfortable here than I am over there, I'll just be totally honest. But I'm more used to being here, so I feel like I've got my slippers back on, it's all good. Right, we're going to have a look at these boards first and just go through. So I can show you exactly what you're getting and you can see it in all its glory. I think the boards are really good at exemplifying how it looks as the vignette and how it looks as the die. So you get to see both. I think that's important for you as somebody who's purchasing, so you can see all those elements. When we're looking at this daff here, this beautiful daffodil, which is part of the Spring in Bloom die collection, you can just see all of these layers that we get here, and it builds those decoupage layers. What that means is we get to be able to shape and mould. On this particular one, if I make little cut lines here where Nick has already embedded cut lines, I can snip into them and I can build this beautiful cup. We're going to play with that today. I want to show you it because it's beautiful and I didn't get the chance to do it yesterday. All your layers here, the same thing. And then you have these decoupage elements that go along, and all of those can be used to build up those layers or individually, so we get to use them as extra bits of ephemera within the collection, which is really nice to have. And we move on to the snowdrops. These are so pretty, so pretty. Now, Carnation always try and take care of the elements that we need for card making and home decor, with specific parts in mind. This is your corner element. We need corner elements because they draw the eye to the center of the card. This has got this really pretty curvature going around. I love the shaping of that. And what that does, if you think of that as being on a DL shape or an 8x8 or a 6x6, we've got all of this room here, but we're drawing the eye forwards to it. Again, you've got all the decoupage elements here, and these are beautiful as kind of a little flurry that goes down the card. Really, really pretty. And also, you've got your mats and layers, so you can make card bases from them too. Super pretty. I've got to try and remember the flower names. This is a bluebell, I'm pretty sure. If I just start making up random flower names, just nod your head, because that's probably what's going to happen. Again, you've got all of your little decoupage elements. We build them up and you can see them all here. So we can put those down as a flourish. More importantly, look at this beautiful shape. That gorgeous kind of teardrop shape as it comes down. So pretty. Really, really gorgeous aspects to this. And I love that blending out of colours because it means it matches in with all of the vignettes that we have, all of the backing papers that we have, and all of the inserts that we have, including those perfect papers, which are just lovely, lovely to have. Just as a side note, if you do want those perfect papers, I'll just say while I'm here to make it easier for you, if you want to use the code on the Carnation website, which is www.carnationcrafts.co.uk, the code for the perfect papers, if you wanted to buy those separately, is 220323. I hope that helps. I remembered. So now we've got the freesias here and you've got that really, really beautiful colourway here. It's so pretty and it's important. So when we start here at the pink and then we work down, can you see how we're going into that darker purple? All of that is blended through. And the reason it works that way is because it's going to go with everything else in the collection. Now, if I bring in my beautiful Easter bunny here and we check his ears against the pink on here, it's the same blend tone. It's got the same hue, it's picked from the same hues, which means we're not clashing in any way, shape or form, which we like. So we're going to go on from here and we're going to look at an upside down board. Always helpful because, you know, I like to keep you guessing. Let me just turn these round. And here we go. So this band, look at that. I love that. That's actually one of my favourite pieces in the whole of this collection. Miss Taz is one of my favourites. Do you love it too? It's so pretty, and it's all of those elements that come in with that lace, that banding that goes down the top. We can separate these into separate elements if you want, just by snipping through. So you would have the 5 different pieces. You can create almost a flower shape from those. So think of how you can expand on what that is. Alternatively, you could use one piece as a corner piece on a diagonal on your card, so you'd have one either side. That beautiful sweep of the leaf here and those gorgeous, gorgeous reeds, just really pretty, plus your extra floral elements as well. I will just say while I'm here as well, I don't know if you know this, Miss Taz, but the people who ordered this yesterday, we've had loads of people on the Carnation group today saying that they've already received their orders. Thank you very much. I love the sound effects. So basically in 24 hours, less than 24 hours, people had their collection at home, and that service is all thank you to the people at Carnation, but the warehouse staff who are just incredible. So big shout out to you guys. We're carrying on here with Filled with Joy. This is this lovely watering can and it is pretty, pretty, pretty. Dave was saying yesterday, if you were to just snip this off, you could have a tankard, and he's not wrong, you could. And again, it's that way of playing, isn't it? Carnation do love to bring you these different elements where you can play with the different aspects. You've got the little fence here that you can just sit along here, or a little extra band. And actually, if you place that along your watering can here, you could weave flowers into that and have them going up. So you create this sort of flourish, which is so, so pretty. So that is the Filled with Joy. And you also get your sentiment there. You fill me with joy, your mats and layers for all of those elements too. This is just, I love the colour on this. The colour is so pretty. You've got your little Easter eggs here in those beautiful colourways. Snip them out. If you want to snip them out, you absolutely feel free, which would just leave you with the sentiment. So you can use the sentiment on its own and then use these extra elements as embellishments, and the beautiful cross, which is so important in Easter cards, but also it takes us across loads of different, so you can have baptisms, christenings, weddings, sympathy cards, all the other things that you have that cross to be able to use for. And then we've got our characters, Taz. So we've got the little chick here. So this is Norma, not officially, but you know, no one's here to shout at me. And Norma has an egg. Now, did Norma come out of the egg or did she find it? So basically, you can snip into this and do little lines across. Norma could be wearing a little bit of that as her hat, and Norma could be escaping from there and all kinds of things. But you can see when this comes together and look at that. Look, there's 2 Normas. Norma's with her twin. What's Norma's twin called, Taz? Gladys. Bernice. Well, you're a bit fancy and continental. So Norma and Bernice are having the best fun here. But look how we streamline this. So you've got this 8x8 card. You've got the bluebells that come up on the one side. And so visually we are diagonally. You can see that diagonal straight across. So what we do is raise that up with those reeds and we fill in that white space with that sentiment. This is how we use the collection together. And that's a really good example of how to use that collection visually to fill in your white space. From there, we have got Alan. Alan's very busy with his bow on, and Alan is a little bit too fancy for us, really, but he's making an appearance because he's very handsome. He is literally my favourite thing in this whole collection. He is beyond cute. Really, really sweet. And he's got this extra bow that we can use and shape out, and it sits like a cravat on him. So you get this dimension, this beautiful kind of 3D dimension going on. Again, he has his mats and layers. So one of the options is to score across here, add some red liner tape onto his ears. Once you've cut this out twice and placed your vignette on top, you automatically have a card base. So it's sort of all done for you in those ways. And then you can add some florals behind him and it is all good. Then we've got these beautiful wood logs. These are really important as well. Actually, one thing I will show you later on when we're going through this is how these can curve out. So you actually do get a 3D shape from them because the cut lines go all the way up. So you can really, really manipulate them and they just make this beautiful kind of dome. They're so pretty. And they are going to sit at the bottom of your cards. They're going to make that grounding device for you. Thank you, Taz. Taz is also apparently my magic hands today, bless her. Thank you, Taz. So you can see here how we have those as those little sort of elements at the bottom of cards, and it is that grounding device. And actually the wee chicks that we were looking at earlier, where we've got Norma and Bernice here, very, very busy. They've got those beautiful little logs there as well. So you see how we ground out those Easter eggs that have been taken off that larger sentiment. And it's just the way you play with the collections. It's how we make it kind of a full collection and we make the most out of it. The final one of this particular collection is the spring string. Did I say it the right way around? Spring string.
Spring strings.
Spring strings.
Yep.
My brain doesn't like playing with that, and I've got it upside down because, again, I like to test you. So you've got this twisted rope with this beautiful bow. Cut that bow twice and you can create decoupage layers on it and you can make it sort of stand up. It's really proud when it stands up. It looks beautiful. Then you've got this gorgeous vine that goes along and then this beautiful daisy chain, which apparently has a different name. I'm sticking with daisy chain because it's what I know. But where you have those little diamonds in between, we explained yesterday and we explored yesterday, if you saw it, you can actually make that into a circle. It doesn't need to be a straight band. We can actually manipulate the die once it's cut and we can create circles from it. It's just engineered in a certain way. It's super clever, which we wouldn't expect anything else from Nick, but you can see here. So where it sits here as a straight band, it comes here as a circle. So again, multiple uses for it. Or you could cut the little flowers and have them individually. And that's your boards. That is your boards for this whole beautiful Spring Forward collection. So the next thing we're going to have a look at now is we're just going to have a look at vignettes and explain them. I know yesterday we got a lot of new viewers who had never made cards before and were brand new to Carnation. And they don't really know what a vignette means, so I'm going to explain it. Let's go back to basics. So for those of you who are new to Carnation, those of you who are new to card making, indeed, you'll have heard, I assume, of dies, and it's a piece of metal, and you pop it through a die cutting machine with a piece of paper underneath it, and it cuts out that piece of paper. Now we can use that in a lot of different ways. What we can do, and what Carnation do, is produce artwork that matches the die. And so when we put the die on top, the metal die, and we put it through the machine, it cuts out the picture that we've put the metal on top of. So this is what we call a mirrored vignette, and they also have a single-sided vignette. If you are brand new to card making, or if you're just a beginner and you've used different companies' sort of artwork, normally you'll be used to seeing what's called a single-sided vignette, and that's this. Single-sided vignette has all the images the same way. That would give me 4 rabbits. You just put your die on top, put it through, and you'd get 4 rabbits. Carnation do something different, and they do what's called a double-sided vignette. So we have 2 rabbits and 2 opposite sides, so it's a mirror of that. And what we do is, when you print it out, we have a line here, and we fold along that line. Now, we also have something called Pro Print paper, and I will say when you print on it, there is an enormous difference. So if you look at this one where it's not printed on Pro Print paper, and this one where it is, and you see the difference in colour, Pro Print is your best friend. Everything you make, when you make it with Pro Print, is going to look brighter, stronger. It's going to have a look and a feel of sort of more dimension to it because those colours are so vivid. And that's really what we want to achieve in our card making. If you know something's going to be for a background, absolutely just cut a single-sided. If you prefer single-sided, just cut them single-sided. For me, I do everything as a mirrored vignette, makes my life easier. I don't have to pick and choose, and I can just do composition as I'm going. We fold on that line, and we just make sure that's sort of sat smooth. Always on the line. Don't ever just fold your paper in half. It will knock it out of balance. That line is there for your guidance. And then we use some spray mount on the inside. We fold it over and push it together so it's stuck as one sheet. We put the die on top and then we pop it through the machine. And our vignettes will be double-sided at that point, which means that both the back and the front are the same. If I just show you that with, let me find Norma, just 1 second. Here she is, she's so pretty. If you look at Norma, so you can see I've got this beautiful little hatchling, this lovely little chick. But if I turn her around, she's exactly the same on the other side. That's a mirrored vignette, just means we get the artwork both ways. So we can really, really use that in a lot of different ways. Now, obviously it doesn't make much difference with Norma because she's facing straight on. But for something like the rabbit where it's facing sort of in one direction, once we use the mirrored vignette, that rabbit will face in the other direction. So it's really, really useful to have. Really pretty, really easy. What we're going to do today is, I want us to look at composition actually. I'm going to do something a bit different, partly because there's nobody here, so nobody can tell me what to do, other than you, Taz, of course.
Yeah.
Other than the producer, but she won't know. But there's none of the bosses here, so I'm just going to play. Which fool left me on my own in a studio? So basically, I want to talk to you about composition. Because when I do demos, you know, when you see us, we always have a set demo done. And I want to talk to you about that from the beginning of that process and how we can bring that together, you know, so we can have a look at that. And I'll just show you that with all the vignettes and how we play and manipulate those. And then from that, we're going to go into doing finished demos. And I will do a finished demo in the same one, but I just want you to look at composition and how it goes. We're not going to get too detailed or too in depth, but let's just say we take a piece of card. I've got smooth card stock here. And let's just say this was all measured. Let's go right from the basics. I'm just going to fold that completely in half. Now, when you're at home, if you're brand new to card making, you would never fold a piece of card this way, and please, please don't. What we would do is use a scoring board, and we would score down here. And this is actually a really good example. You see how you get these wee creases on the side of the paper here? You don't want those when you're making a card. That's why you're going to use some kind of scoring device. My best advice to you is to use the larger dies that you're using on any card shape and cut them twice, score once, and you use them as a tent base. And I'll go through that with you in a minute. But I just want to talk composition in general. We get very bogged down, I think, in the idea of trying to do things in a fixed way. So what I love to do, and these are just what I had left from the demos that I was making, but I want to talk it through with you and just look at different ways of playing. I've got all of these shapes. You can see I've got all of these bits and bats. I'm not going to get too, you know, bogged down in anything here. I just want to look at how we're going to do this as a composition piece rather than a finished demo. So it's a bit of an experimental. I'm not looking for perfection. I just want you to understand that there's ways of composing your cards without getting too fixed. Now, one of the problems I had when I first started my card making is I just wanted it to look perfect immediately, and it never did. And I realised I was kind of being too hard on myself, and I don't want you to put yourselves in that position because it can put us off, I think, if we feel like we're not succeeding. So the main thing to remember is the first thing you would always do is put your mats and layers there, because that immediately helps. But there are times when using just a white piece of card when we're composing a card, not necessarily when we're finishing it, it's really useful to have that white space. So sometimes when I'm making my demos, I don't bother with my mats and layers until afterwards. And the reason I can do that with Carnation is because all of your card colours, so your perfect papers, your backing papers, your insets, they're all going to match. It doesn't matter actually which colour you go in, you can choose afterwards. But sometimes when we're composing and we need to get the kind of the size and everything else fitting together, sometimes I just work with a blank piece of card so I can work out where I want things to be. So I would cut that to the size I was normally doing. So let's take, for instance, I'm going to use this banded wreath, which is beautiful. Just to let you know, the banded wreath is actually separate to the rest of the collection. And that's just to give you notification of that. And that comes in here, but it can be bought and purchased separately. It's a huge, huge die, and it is so, so pretty. So you get all of your little elements here, all of these mats and layers, and then you get the inside piece of that wreath as well, which sits like so. Isn't that gorgeous? I love that they've got artwork for it, but I will say also when you cut that in white, it looks stunning as well. So lots of different ways to play with that one. But that is your banded wreath. Now wreaths are always going to come in handy because we can use them for every season. And they're always going to come in handy with Carnation because Carnation have done so many blooms. So we can put all our florals through. Super, super pretty. So I'm not going to use a centerpiece because I don't want to get too centered in, and I want to use that center space to build upwards and outwards. Now what I'm going to do, just for the sake of my own visual, I'm just going to put a piece of green card underneath here. So this is one of those perfect papers. I'm just going to pop it under. I'm not bothered about the colour. It doesn't matter to me whether it's green or anything else. It's just so I can work out a colourway and just know that my composition, I'm just getting that the right way around. So there is a way with the banded wreath. Just keep turning it till it fits and go round. Now I'm not sticking anything down. I don't want anything to be stuck. Look how pretty that is already on the green. I mean, already we're getting there. Now, the reason I like the white space around it, can you see how now I can visually see where I want this to be? I could move it across. If I was doing an 8x8, I could move it across and I could have a sentiment or some stamps going down here. We generally work centrally, and I think that's just something as humans we kind of naturally do. We want that central focus, but we can actually play with that and manipulate. Now, I could go in with the egg. And I mean, I'm randomly picking things here. I can absolutely assure you this is entirely off the sort of top of my head, but this is just the way I work when I'm prepping the demos. We get asked about it a lot. We don't have time when we're on sort of normal TV to show you this process. But I can sit and think, I can have my egg sitting here and it looks super pretty. And you can see how that domed out just by manipulating it slightly. But do I want it there or do I want it slightly higher and have it as a central focus? If I do it higher and have it as a central focus, I can bring in Norma and I can put her on top of that egg. And actually, essentially, I could finish my card pretty much there. That's the joy, isn't it, of Carnation. We get those options. Or I can start to bring in some extra elements. So I could bring in, actually, let me have a look at this large one. I want to show you this while I'm here. This larger tree log, this log stump, you can actually, because I was saying to you a minute ago, the cut lines are so, look at this. Can you hear it cracking? I don't know if you'll be able to pick that up. But you can just hear those fibres going where those cut lines are. And that means I've got all the chance of creating that dome. Now with taking my hands off that, you can see already I've got that beautiful curve. Now if I put some foam tape there or some pin flare, that's going to sit really high. So I can sit and I can bring that little stump there. Okay, now we're getting a visual. We're getting a grounding device. Norma's not just sat somewhere random now. Norma's actually standing on something. It makes sense of it. So this is how we start to play and how we start to build things round. I've got this beautiful daisy chain design here. These are really, really cute. So what I can do here is just manipulate and tuck. So I'm just going to tuck that up and tuck that up so it goes together, and I've built that round. And I'm going to do the same. I'm just going to keep whizzing around all the way just to tuck this around and build it through. And it's just going to become circular instead of straight. Isn't that so clever? Nick, who is the creative director, we always talk about it, but man, is he a genius. He is so clever, and he is just a little dream. Now we're going to put this as a half semicircle going round, and then because the shape just manipulates, I can have it any shape I want now. I can start to really pull that round. So I'm going to put that as a little, look, So like Norma now is just sitting under this really pretty little dome. We've just shaped it out. So what we've done here visually as a comp is at the bottom we added in that log. So we have a visual at the bottom. Now we're adding in at the top, and that allows us to bring our eyes into Norma. That's the whole point here. We're not focusing on the daisies. We're not focusing on the tree stump, but because we've got both, we come in visually to Norma. So we're working on that composition in that way. I can bring in certain other aspects if I wanted to. I could give Norma a little bow, and that would add more into it. Miss Taz is holding up her hand. Yes, Miss Taz at the back of the class.
It reminds me of a wedding card.
Yeah, it's got what, because of the garland?
And now the little bow tie.
The little bow tie. Look at that. It is like a wedding card, you're not wrong. And it's that, isn't it? It's that building up. But let's say you have a phobia of chicks. Please don't have a phobia of chicks because they are very lovely and there's no need. Let's get rid of Norma and her egg. Let's bring in Alan and we'll just shape him round. I'm not going to use the ball tool too much on this because this is just a comp piece. I just want to sort of show you how we work because a lot of people do question it. We just don't have time. So let's take Norma out. And honestly, when I'm making cards for demos, it might look all very smooth when we do it on telly because it's all ready, but I spend a lot of time at home just sort of placing and thinking, where would I put this? How do I want it to look? And this is the process. This is it. This is comp. So we go in and we take Alan, we just put him there. Look, and he's already beautiful. Now the things that I would be doing at this point as well is thinking, okay, I want some more depth. I want some animation into this really. So I'm going to start thinking about building in, and I would always want something, if I'm doing a circular piece like that, generally speaking, I'm going to look at having some kind of flare that comes off. So that's why I love these pieces. But if you don't like that, obviously you put that in at a different angle and it will sit more flat. You can cut into these and we just manipulate as we're going. You can then glue that round and have it as that piece. But I kind of like the flare. I like things to come off the side of my cards because I just think it gives it a bit more oomph in that way. So all of these things that we can just use to bring them all together. Now you might not want to have Alan, you might not want to have the tree stump, but you might really love that daisy chain, and rightly so. It's super, super pretty. So you might think, well, you know, I've got all of that, but actually all I wanted to say is Happy Easter. And you can put that there, you've already got a card made. So now all you've done is 2 card bases, you've got your mat, and you've got everything set in space there. Now I'm going to say, for me personally, you do you, I find that there's something wrong because I'm losing my Easter eggs and my flowers in that wreath visually. Now I could potentially take away this colour, and you know I like to work white on white, and already visually that comes more to life. It pops more because it's not fighting against the colour behind it, because you know it's busy when you've got the wreath and that colour and then that white. Alternatively, what I could do is bring that green back in, sit that there, and I can use this and put it on to this, and I would raise that up with foam tape, and already I've got so much more of a pop. Now if I was making the card in that way, and there's no reason why I wouldn't, I would want something to sit on the bottom here because it's too empty. I've got a visual on the top with my daisy chain. I've got that in the centre, but I'm lacking here and I don't like that space. So I would choose to fill that with florals or just something that is bright enough to just give me a little visual. Something as simple as that. And that gives me a finished card piece. I don't have to go nuts with Carnation. You don't have to, because it's also pretty already. So the comp is really just about you bringing in all your elements together, and it just makes it super easy and super The words have gone, Taz. The words have gone. They went away. It's easy to comp when you sit with all your pieces. My advice to you is never go into it with just one set focus. I'm going to make this, because that's fabulous when it works. When it doesn't, man, is it frustrating. So my advice is cut all your vignettes, get all your bits and pieces, and just sit with them and play for a bit, because that's how we really sort of visually pull things together. So have we got time, Taz, for me to show you how this then comes together as a card?
Yeah, we do.
Okay, I'm going to go in with an 8x8. Let me just put this here. And I've got 2 pieces of 8x8 cut here. They're just straight pieces of smooth cardstock. Got a 350 GSM on my super smooth always have 350, and it's because it's so much sturdier. And I got to say, Carnation Super Smooth is a fantastic paper because it is super smooth. If you're somebody who loves stamping and mixed media, it is a beautiful thing to work on. I'm going to shunt those up on my multimedia mat and push that down. I've got my sticky on here, which will stick to my fingers, no doubt, if I push too far. And then we are going to just push that down to create my card base. So those who are brand new, and some people were asking me yesterday by message, can I explain, you know, why we make the temp bases instead of just using a card base? And it's such a valid question. The reason I tend to make my own card bases is because I like bespoke shapes. And if I want to do an 8x8, I might only want to do an 8x8 once every 3 weeks. But if I buy a pack of 8x8s, I'm kind of bound to them, and I don't want to be bound to them, so I just find it easier to make my own. That's my answer to it. Other people will, you know, have preferences, but that is why I do, and it was a valid question that was asked yesterday. When we're making the mats and layers, one question that did come in this morning that I saw was, what distance do you make your mats and layers? And I apologise for not explaining that yesterday, but you kind of get, when you're making cards so often, you kind of forget sometimes that those basic questions need answering. This large card base here, the white one, is 8x8. This mat is 7 3/4 by 7 3/4. So I went down just by a 1/4 inch increment on it. So you can see it's a tiny amount there. And then I've got my next layer, which is this beautiful free back. Look at that. Do you not think that's pretty as a picture? I love those free backing papers, so beautiful. This is then down another, I think that one's down by 1/2 inch. So 7 3/4, take it down to 7 1/4. Now, what I could have done is made something much smaller. Let me show you this, because this is quite a clever way of showing you something. This would be ridiculously small. However, it would still be effective. If I place this in the center of that, that's still a mat and layer. You would be very unlikely to use it that way, but actually I don't mind it. Compositionally, I don't mind it. And then I can put my white layer on top of here. Now you can see when you look at this white card base here, and then you look at the purple one, you look at the green one and the white one, that's a much bigger distance there. So I think, if my brain is correct, so it would be that that is 8x8, that is 7 3/4 by 7 3/4, that would be 7 1/2 by 7 1/2, and then those ones are obviously much tinier. So it depends what you want to do, and it depends what effect you want. There isn't a specific answer to your mats and layers on what increment you go by. The main thing is to play with the equidistance between them and see what you prefer. It changes the composition every time you do it. So my lovely producer has just said some names to mention. So Sandra, Janet, Sheila, Amanda and Kath. And I assume you've messaged in, which I haven't been able to. Have they messaged? Oh.
Said lovely things.
Oh, apparently you said lovely things. That's nice to know. Thank you. Huge thank you. Oh, God, you know, you guys are just the best. Yesterday, I mean, we kind of had a decompress meeting last night, and just, wow, you know, the support you guys have given us and the positivity yesterday. And do you know what? I'm going to say it, whether we're meant to say it or not. And I don't know what I'm supposed to be saying in that sense, but nobody's here to shout. There was massive issues with the website yesterday. Now, whether I'm supposed to mention that or not, I don't know. But let's not ignore the fact that it happened. Let's not ignore the fact that you guys had the patience of a saint yesterday. And we appreciate that massively, because it's frustrating. We know it's frustrating. What we hadn't expected yesterday was just the insane rush. Now, obviously, there's digital files on the website that people were trying to download at the same time as they were trying to shop, and it just didn't cope with it, basically. But we're not the only ones at the moment. There's enormous issues all over the place with web in general at the moment, and it happened with us as well yesterday, and unfortunately it was on launch day. Huge thank you from the team, from me, for just being patient and allowing us to work through it. It really helped, and we are so grateful. I thought my producer was about to say something to me, but she wasn't. I'm just going to put some wet glue in here if I can get it to come out. It was all sticky from overnight. This is Carnation's Everyday Glue, which makes me laugh an awful lot because it's very silly but very funny. So Carnation have got an Everyday Glue, and it's got every day of the week on. So you get 7 bottles. You can find it on the website. It's just one of those silly things, but it's lovely. The glue is great from Carnation. They don't need to dress it up any more than it is. It's a brilliant wet glue, but it's got the days of the week on. So you get Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You can use the wrong day, like I am, as I found out this morning, because I've got Thursday, and it turns out today's Wednesday because it was Bin Man Day and I missed it very much. So now I've got to wait another 2 weeks before they take away all of my empty crisp brackets. But you know, other food does exist apparently. I'm going to go in here with the wet glue and I'm going to place it on to my wreath here, this banded wreath. Isn't that gorgeous? I love the drama of that wreath. So I'm just going to bring this in, small pieces. Now while I'm here, I'm going to just say, actually I've got it on one of the other demos, so hopefully we'll see that. But if you can see in here, where I'm placing this glue, if I just point with my tool here, you see this place here, this area, it matches with this one here. Now they're big little sections, if you like. What we can do with those is cut foam tape, and you can use foam tape in those areas. It's made big enough so that you can do that and you create height and dimension. All I'm going to do here is just eyeball that and make sure it's roughly central. We're going in with a centerpiece. Nothing too fancy there. Make sure it's glued down and stays down. Never use too much glue. It's like the worst thing we can do, and it's just it's tempting, isn't it, to just sort of saturate with glue. Just try not to do that too much. I'm going to go in here with this piece of white. Now we were talking about mats and layers a second ago, so we've got these little. Laura Dudley commented, that's my friend Luna Doodley, who is my friend. So I don't want to know what she commented because Lord only knows it might be bad. Hello, Luna Doodley. So we've got here this incremental place that goes in. So the white, again, I'm using the mat and layer technique here. We're going inwards visually. So what I'm going to do here, I've got 3mm foam. It raises up. So where everything else has been maintained in a flat way, this is now raising. So we're going slightly higher, and I'm just going to eyeball that so it's straight. And I've just hidden the bottom of that wreath there on purpose. I want to lose part of that. It's as if it's sort of flowing downwards, and that is a really lovely technique that we can have. On top of that, I'm going to use the same backing paper. And I'm just going to put a band on that. And again, we are matting and layering at this point at the bottom. What this does is gives us a sort of bottom visual, if you like. There's probably a better way of phrasing that, Miss Tiz Taz. So we're just going to place. Now, what's important to note, these backing papers are free. Go and help yourself to them. And if you look very closely, you can see your little snowdrops here. Can you see? This is how all of your, and can you see here? That band, that lace band. See how your backing papers match with your vignettes? So those backing papers aren't just random. They are designed to work exactly with this collection. That, I think, is gold, just gold. One of the things I can do here now is add in that band. How pretty is that? I'm not going to, actually, no, let's do it. Let's do all of the things. Let's just do all of the things. Why not? We're going to place this on here. This is how I make demos. This is literally it. I just sit and I sort of potter my way through and work out what works. But I think if you're new to it, sometimes that can be intimidating. Don't be intimidated by composition. It's all just about eyeballing. I've got that beautiful sentiment. Now, again, it's that thing, isn't it? Do I just want to place this here? No, because I lose it. If I place it here, it gains. And we're always looking for gains. So I'm just going to place this using some pin flare. We're going to place centrally. I want my focus now central. So what happens here is I reduce, because I've got that lace panel, I'm reducing the visual of the colour on the backing paper of this, but it's still giving me the blend from here. There's a hint of it. Then we're going to go in with that sentiment. When we're working with sentiments, little small amounts of glue, especially on those letters, but a little goes a long way. Just put your dabs in, little spots of glue. onto your Easter eggs. And the most important thing when you're doing this, make sure your first and your last has glue on. The rest we can work with once it's stuck down, but it's always your first and your last. And we start, so just bend it. You're not bending it out of shape. Just bend it so you're only working with the first bit. Otherwise, it's out of control and it goes skew whiff. So bend your first. We've got that in place. Now start placing the rest. And work it down your card. Perfect. And that's how you get it completely into place. So it all sits beautifully where it is. And look how that pops. So see these purples with these purples. It just all pops and it comes into place. Let's take the egg. Let's get Norma and make her earn her living. So I'm not shaping this with a ball tool. And the reason I'm not shaping it with a ball tool is we've got a large surface area here. If I go in with a ball tool, I'll show you. Let's show you. If I go in with a ball tool and I use it on an egg, and I'm not going to be heavy-handed, but I will show you what I mean. You'd need the biggest ball tool out of your collection because it's a massive surface area, right? And we're going to go in and we're going to go around those edges. Now already I'm starting to crease. Now it will give me a, can you see? I don't know if you can see it or not. It's creasing around the bottom of my egg there. And it's just, I'm breaking the fibres too much. So I'm getting this horrid shape. It's really, really horrid shape. And it will be visually noticeable because the surface area is too big and the fibres haven't broken in your paper. We don't want that. So when I turn that round, can you, if I put my hand there, can you see the edges have all gone skew whiff? They're wobbly. Doesn't look good. It's not pleasing. So what we do instead is we just manipulate. So we gently rock in, just hold it and just rock it. That's going to give me exactly the same effect, but I'm not breaking anything and I'm not making it look visually impaired. So we're just going through this way, and then you can take it further into the centre if you want it to really dome, but always start with your edges first, just in that rocking motion, and bring it round. Take the card here, plenty of pin flare on this. We really want to raise it, so plenty of pin flare. Or you can use foam tape, up to you, but loads to just sit because I want it raised. I don't want this flat. I've already flattened out that wreath. I need to raise it. I've got to have some height here. So I'm just going to pop it down and leave it there. I love that. I love that. I love the shading on this because it does actually make it look like it's standing upright. That looks like an egg to me. It looks 3D. Then we're going to take Norma and we are going to shape Norma out because I want her to have some doming on her tummy. The difference with Norma and the egg is that Norma has cut lines built into her. So when I go in this with a ball tool, they give, and that it just sort of allows it to be curled without creasing. It's that give line. So I'm going in with her tummy. Mainly I'm going to focus on her tummy. When we're shaping out, there's a rule here. Anytime you sculpt with paper, there's a big, big rule. If you want to sculpt and you want to use a ball tool, you're better off rolling that round 20 times lightly than you are doing it once heavily. So if you go in and you like really put pressure on it, that's when you kind of get those creases. If you go around 20 times lightly, you'll get a lovely dome. So it's always about layering. Everything is about layering, including layering your sort of your rolling around on your ball tool. It's important just to keep your paper straightened. Once you've done that, then you've got that beautiful shape in. We're going to do the same with her head, just on here. And then I'm going to take my smaller end of my ball tool and do her wings. I'm following Nick's artwork here. I'm not just following, you know, the ball tool. It's tempting. When I first ever started driving Taz and they were trying to teach me to drive, I had a really awful habit of turning the steering wheel in the same way as my windscreen wipers were going. And you can't drive like that because you end up doing all kinds of awful things. And you have to learn very quickly not to follow your windscreen wipers because that is not a good plan. It's very dangerous and it made me very prickly under the armpits. So don't do that, and don't do it with your ball tool. Follow the artwork, not the ball tool. So what we're going to do is shape outwards on her wings. So we're going to go this way and then we're going to go this way. So we're following the artwork. That flow is going to give those wings the right shape. And we can go really, really detailed into this. So if I turn her back one more, go into her eyes, just here with the tiniest of the ball tools, these tiny details make all the difference. This is how I shape when I'm shaping ready for demos. This is how I shape when I'm making my own cards. And I'm going to go in with her little beak and I'm going to follow. Remember, we're following the artwork. We're not following the windscreen wipers, Taz.
Artwork, no windscreen wipers.
Never follow the windscreen wipers. Doesn't work. Now, I've domed her so much that she is in a curve. She has a curvature this way, and that would never be normal. You would never have that curvature. We need to shape her into a little form. So we're just going to push her head forward and then let it sort of just fall back normally. So you've got that kind of bump, and we need that for the tummy and then the head. Take your pin flare. I'm going to give her some raise, but not too much. But what I'm going to do is put it on her tummy and I'm going to put more on her head. I'm raising it higher on her head because I want her head to sit slightly forward, and then we place. So she's just going to sit and I'm going to put her little feet at the bottom. Just push it on her tummy and on her head just slightly so those domes cover your gel glue, and she just sits. And then obviously we would leave that for 24 hours to dry because we need that pin flare to dry through. Now I love that, and actually I'm quite happy with that as it is, but I just want a visual on the top. It's too naked for me, and I just like to bring it back down. So what I'm going to do for this is use this beautiful daisy, but I'm not manipulating this into a shape at this point. All I'm actually, do you know what? I'm not. Let's change it out. I love the fact that I've got no boss here that can shout at me. I am just not playing by any rules. I'm just playing. So we're going to go in. But isn't this what it's about to me? You know, this is what card making is about. It's about changing your mind. It's about knowing creatively what works for you and what feels comfortable. So let's put that in centrally onto there. So we're bringing in that center line with that chick and that bow and that sentiment. Everything comes in centrally, and then you've got that beautiful dome underneath. So visually we have more impact. And you'll all be pleased to know that's the end of that demo. But look what we made. Remember, composition is all about choice. It's about flair, and it's about knowing kind of what you want to achieve. So I'm going to let you just have a minute just to have a look and see what this collection is all about, and to give you a break from my voice, and we'll be back in a minute.
Carnation Craft's new TV launch features the elegant new collection Spring Forward. This classical Easter collection is filled with dies such as Easter Celebration, Filled with Joy, Easter Bunny, Spring Strings, Little Hatchling and Placed in Nature. And you can take this new die set home for an incredible £109.99. This collection is perfect for your cards, scrapbook pages, home decor and many other techniques. Carnation Crafts even have an open angel policy which allows you to make and sell all of your completed projects. Don't forget to download the free vignettes from our website, www.carnationcrafts.co.uk. Happy crafting with our new collection, Spring Forward.
Did you manage to have a little break from my voice, which is just in my head all the time? So what we're going to do is just look at some other finished samples, so you're not just looking at my work, and we're just going to have a sort of a see how that comes together with this whole collection. I'll give you a quick recap. The code number, if you're going onto Carnation Crafts websites, it's carnationcrafts.co.uk. The code number for that main collection is 220314. You can just look for it by the name Spring Forward. That will work just as well. But if you're somebody who likes to go by those numbers, 220314, that's your main collection. And you'll see that it all comes up for you, and you can just pop it through your basket. Remember, when you're doing that, the other things that will come up are also your perfect papers, all of those things, but you'll also get your downloads for your vignettes and everything else. You'll see it all in the same place. So make sure you're downloading all of that. If there is sort of any slowness on the website, you know why. So let's have a look at some more of these finished samples. Just to let you know, before I start doing this, that we will be back at 7. You've got another hour, and I'll do a couple more demos there, and we'll do it sort of more quickly and more as normal instead of the comp. But I did just want to show you the idea of comp so you knew exactly how we do what we do. You've got here this gorgeous wreath. Now the reason I want to show you this is a way of using that banded wreath in different colours. Isn't that so pretty? Really, really gorgeous. So you've got here this gorgeous cream. That's from the Perfect Papers. We're bringing those freesias against that cream. Is so beautiful. And then you can see how it all comes in with your Easter egg. And we've cut that sentiment in gold. So there's loads of ways to plays. Ooh, the words went, Taz. The words went. So you've got all of these really, really lovely ways. And then just using, wrong way around. You've got the little bow just at this side. Just finishes that comp. This is what I mean about comp. It's just the ways of working things through. Then we're going to go in. This one, I mean, this was Dave's favourite yesterday. He was having the loveliest time with this yesterday. It's an easel card. And I think easels are really important and sometimes unsung heroes. But those flowers coming out of that watering can are so cute. And then that sentiment there at the bottom with Norma, very busy with a little flower on her chest. So again, you see how we're cutting out those bands, those spring strings, and we're using them as extra elements here. Loads of ways of playing with it. Loads of ways, Miss Tiz Taz. Beautiful. Look at this. This is how we're using those lace bands here. So pretty. So simple on that one. Really gorgeous. It's those packing papers. It's everything else. Don't forget your backing papers. They're so important. Absolutely as simple as it comes, but so pretty. Look at this. So these are those logs that we're looking at and those reeds. So gorgeous and just so clever. Doesn't need a lot. We don't need to be excessive with Carnation Crafts. That's never ever part of it. And then I'll just show you this last one. And we have a look at this. This is Norma breaking free. This is like Prison Break. It's Norma on Prison Break. And so we could make a whole TV series about that because Norma is on Prison Break. She's making her escape. She's going to get on a bus. It's going to be the number 255. We don't know where the 255 goes. She's going to go and see Bernice. They've been waiting for a meetup for the next chick heist. That's what's happening. Norma's breaking free. So you can see... You don't have to make up stories. It's not, they don't force you to. You can just be a normal person. That's fine. And then I just want to show you, look, this is what we're talking about with the mirrored vignettes where they're facing each other. So where, you know, this is why they do it. You're only paying for one die, but you get both uses out of it. And they've got their little noses touching. So you could use that as a wedding card, engagement card, you know, all of those things, baby cards. We're going to be back with you at 7 o'clock, so we'll run through some more demos for you then, and we'll be there for an hour for you. If you have any questions, please do let us know. I'll answer as much as I can, but it is just me, and so some of it may not make any sense. I'm just saying. It was really lovely to have your company. Thank you so much for being with us, and we'll see you in an hour.